Welcome everyone. This is our 7th Q webinar. So today we will have Dr. Araceli Venegas-Gomez. She has experience in industry, then she did PhD in physics, and then again she started to be interested in being a quantum ambassador, and then also she founded QURECA. She will also mention about it. Thanks Araceli accepting our invitation. So today our moderators will be Özlem and Gibran. Currently we are also organizing a global workshop on quantum programming and computing. Both Özlem and Gibran are also leader there. They are delivering lectures. Özlem is also lead overall program and our Discord server. So let me start with our protocol quickly. So each QWorld events have a code of contact. So basically we are here to talk about quantum and science in general. So, and try to keep in this track. And also please don't record or broadcast this meeting. We didn't ask permission of the people. And you can also ask your questions by writing comments in YouTube or in Zoom. Our moderators will check them regularly. We have already in advance questions, around 40, and we will also add the new questions. We have a document at there, and we will try to ask all of them. So as I said, currently also in parallel, we have our first global quantum programming workshop. We are happy that we have like participants more than 700 also is from 70 countries. So we are also thanks to all of them to show interest and joining us. So I think we are already we passed the middle way, I guess. So yeah, it's like quite close to finishing. So I shortly mention about also QWorld. QWorld has basically one fundamental network. It's called like quantum cousins. Currently we are 11 quantum cousins. You see the pictures here. So we kind of start first maybe Eastern Europe, then we are now expanding more and more. Recently Mexico and Tunisia also joined us, Pakistan and Czech Republic as well. And we are also processing some new applications. And if you have some interest to being a Q cousin, please visit our webpage. And you will see information there, also our outline how to follow the procedure. So I also shortly mention about some numbers, what we have done until now, our events and projects. We are quite proud of that we organized 50 workshops and 2 hackathons. We already delivered thousands diplomas. So these diplomas are also, people are dedicated at least, let's say, 2 full days to join some workshops and hackathons. We also have completed some international projects. Our first international projects also from which QWorld born, it was a QDrive. We had a small group, just traveled by a car, almost 80 days, more than 10,000 kilometers. And during this time, we had our first experience of many workshops at the same time, and we delivered 11 workshops in 8 different countries. Also thanks to host, they are invited us that time. This summer, we had our first internship program. So it was also took almost 2 months, and we completed with 12 successful projects. And very recently, we also especially interested in education, try to popularize also quantum technologies and quantum software. And we also training people for being mentor for our workshops and other events. It was also 2 weeks program, and 31 people, again from 11 countries, completed the program. This is a Q webinar. We also have Q talks. We are also trying to popularizing quantum technologies and software in this way. So we suggest you just visit our website and you can get more information, and depends on your interest, you can also welcome to contact us. So I will leave stage now, Dr. Araceli.
Thanks, Abu. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Perfect.
So again, thank you very much, Abu and Oslin. And I want to say, what you're doing with QWorld is amazing. It's so cool, really. It's like I think is what more people should be doing. So I'm gonna speak a lot about what we are doing at QURECA, but what I want to say is that I see everything as a global community and a global quantum family, and I really like the fact that we collaborate with each other and that we can see where we can learn from each other. So again, well done with what you're doing. So
Thank you very much.
thanks for the invitation here. I'm gonna speak about what we are doing at QURECA, and really I want to try to answer all the questions that you have. I know that a lot of people are interested in quantum, and I will try to go with the different kind of answers that I would say that are going to provide you this overview about what is needed for you if you want to step into quantum or if you want to go into another direction in your career. But I'm happy to discuss further if needed. So I'm gonna talk a lot. Just let me know if you would like to know about anything in detail, and we can discuss at the end. So as I will mention already a little bit about my career, but I think I always like to tell about my career, because then you will understand why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I'm so, let's say, focused on helping each other and helping others in doing a career change. So I'm an aerospace engineer. I work in industry, but before I actually went into working as an engineer, well, I took a lot of opportunities. And I always say this because if you have the opportunity to do anything, an internship, Erasmus, learn an online course, participate in webinars like today, just do it, because you never know where you are going to meet someone that is going to help you for the next step in your career. You don't know how the things are going to develop. And now that I look back, I actually see that the things somehow led to where I am today. But of course, you don't know how it's going to happen. So just be open with opportunities. I think there are a lot of resources out there. So if you don't know where to find them, just ask. So it was my time where there was no pandemic, there was money in Europe. So I started to go to different countries. I moved around, I did Erasmus, I did an internship. Well, and then I had to work as an engineer. So I moved to Germany and I worked for Airbus. And I started working as an engineer. Then I went more into management because I wanted to learn more and more how things work and how, like, as a whole. And then I moved to another position that it was called resource management. And resource is really about thinking in innovation terms for all R&D. If you're developing a new product, what do you need in terms of skills and competencies? And then you see that what I'm doing kind of goes into what I did at that time. So that was my career in Airbus. It was going really well. I could become a big manager at this company, but well, making the story very, very short, when I was working at Airbus, I was doing a master in medical physics. I learned about magnetic resonance imaging. Then I started learning quantum. I did an online course in quantum. Thanks to a professor that I met online, I decided that maybe I wanted to do more. I kind of thought about my life and my career. Maybe it was the crisis of turning 30. I don't know. But I decided to change my career. And I moved from being an engineer in Germany and I moved to Scotland to study physics. So I moved to Glasgow and I did 1 year master's and then the PhD. And during that time, I was involved in absolutely everything. I was in the student chapter. I was going to all the different conferences that I could go. I was just trying to understand how everything worked. And that really helped me a lot on creating a network that actually was the foundation of what is now my company, QURECA. So you can see that at the end, you realize that one thing actually led to each other. But I'm not here really to talk about my career in detail. I want to ask you what you want to do, or at least I want you to think about your career. So let's go for an overview about quantum and why everybody's talking about quantum technologies. Actually, why? Why is it that everybody's talking about quantum technologies right now? That everybody's interested in quantum? Because if you think about any kind of emerging technology, how this works is you have the scientists, they have been working in this technology for a really long time. And then at one point in time, they realized that they could apply this science into something that it could be helpful for society. So you develop the research into a product and then you create a new market. This is how everything works. But now when something is emerging, you need money. You need money to fund the researchers that is going to develop the new industry. So what we have is the government and all these funding agencies that need to put the money into academia. But then we have the general public, then we have all the people that are reading in the news about quantum, and they think that we are going to have a quantum computer tomorrow that is going to revolutionize our world. Another question is, what is actually different if we think about quantum technologies from any other technology like 5G, AI, blockchain? Well, I think you would agree that is the word quantum. When you hear quantum, and it has a nerdy connotation, it's kind of weird. It gives kind of, either sounds like exciting, that's what I think, or it sounds like too difficult and you don't want to know anything about it. And I think this is what is happening, that a lot of people just they are trying to sell quantum, even quantum toilet paper right now. So it's just a selling, a marketing tool. But when we think about the technology, is it such a weird thing? Well, we are using quantum technology every day for decades now. We have computers and mobile phones with transistors. We have lasers everywhere, the GPS, any kind of photo detector, for example, in the digital cameras. And as I told you before, magnetic resonance imaging. So what is now different from all this quantum technology that we are using for decades? If you think about this technology that you see here, you have a lot of atoms together. You have a lot of photons. You have a technology that is based in quantum phenomena, but a lot of particles at the same time. So what has been happening in the last decades is that scientists were able to control matter at the quantum level, at the single particle level, at a single photon. So this control allowed that you can create new technology based on this control. That's why we have a qubit. So it's just one single atom or a photon or whatever you use for your qubit, that is this control allowing you to create new technology. And that's what is now what people call quantum 2.0 or the second quantum revolution. So that was the background of entering the second quantum revolution. That's how everything started. Now, what is actually the second quantum revolution? A lot of different technologies. It's not just quantum computing. We have different kind of quantum technology coming. And I say coming because there are things that are already here, that are already in the market, but most of this technology is yet to come. And that's why we said that the future is quantum, because we know that more and more technology is going to be developed. This is emerging technology. A lot of technologies, I don't think we know right now what is going to happen. I think it was last week that I learned about people that are trying to learn how quantum technologies can be used in biophysics to use similar things like photosynthesis. So you can imagine that you can revolutionize energy, the energy sector, with a new kind of technology that is not even this kind of technologies that you see here. So there are new technologies coming that we still don't know. But what we know is at least that we have quantum computing coming in the future. You all know about quantum computers. Here you have one of them. You know that there are different kind of platforms. I'm not going to talk about this because it's not my specialty, and I think you already know a lot about that. We have quantum communication, which is really important because everything right now is based on cybersecurity and encryption. So any transaction that we do, any communication, we are the whole day in Zoom or any other tool. So quantum communication is going to revolutionize our world. But there are all the kind of technology. You can think about quantum simulation, quantum imaging. An example of quantum imaging is this kind of single picture cameras, or cameras that can see around the corners, or cameras that can see in another part of the spectrum. So you could see, for example, gas leakage that normally you wouldn't see with our individual spectrum. And then sensors. And I know that a lot of people don't talk so much about sensing, but sensing is actually the quantum technology that is already there, because we have atomic clocks and quantum clocks. So we have another kind of sensors, for example, measuring the magnetic fields in your brain, or radiometers that they measure the gravity under the ground. So there are a lot of different kind of technology, but I'm going to show you something. This is the quantum roadmap from 2014. It's almost 7 years old. And you know what's the funny thing about it? That we are more or less at the same point that you see here. So we have technology that we know that is coming in the near term, and then you see computing is in the long term. And then there is this eternal question, when are we going to have a quantum computer? And I think if someone is able to answer, then tell me, because I cannot. This is going to take time. It's not going to be there in a couple of years. It's just impossible in terms of our technology today. But we already have kind of quantum computers that we can use, where we can already show this advantage that we can use in specific business sectors. So it doesn't mean that it's because it's coming last. We don't need to care now. And that's why it's so important that businesses think about a strategy for this kind of technology. It's really very exciting, because you remember in this diagram, you have the people developing the research, you have the people in the market side, so the businesses, and everybody's working, like everybody works together. It's like you need to understand how this technology is going to be applied in your sector at the same time that the technology is under development. So this is a very, very exciting time. And it's not me who say it, it's everyone. And here you see the global efforts. This is public money. This is so this is the money from the governments around the world. So a little bit of history. The first national initiative was the one in UK. And you saw the map before. So this was 2013, 2014. Now we are in the second phase of funding for the UK. But at the same time, and I think almost 10 years ago now, quantum institutes were created in Canada and in Singapore. So even though they were not called quantum initiatives or national initiatives, they started already with this idea about creating institutes focusing on research in quantum. So you have Canada, United Kingdom, and Singapore. And in the last years, it has just exploded. So in 2018, it was the launch of the European flagship, and that was, I think, October. And the same year, it was it was in the summer, and then they launched it a little bit later. But also in autumn that year, it was the US National Quantum Initiative launch. And everybody around 1 billion, it seems that 1 billion is the magic number. So you see, it was really in the last years that this global effort was really starting to be really global. And then even though there is this flagship in Europe, there are some countries where they are launching their own national initiatives, like Germany, Netherlands, and France. France has just, I think today, they release a specific effort on quantum just around Paris that is going to be around 1 million euros. So you see that there are more and more specific projects in specific countries. And then, of course, you know what is happening in China. We know that there is a big effort there. How much public money is put into the effort is another question. So we are trying to figure out, and we know that there's a lot. They are building their own quantum computer institute. So there are a lot of things going on there, you know, in quantum communication as well. And then in the last year, it has been Russia, India, effort in Israel, and other countries in Asia. So it's really about being part of this race. And this quantum race, I don't like when people say that it's just between two countries. It's really a global effort. It's really a global ecosystem. And even though in some countries there is not a national initiative, they are probably part of some other initiative worldwide. And if not, they are starting to create, even if it's just kind of outreach community. So it's really happening everywhere. And this is what I really love to show. So this is just for you to see how many quantum companies, or the distribution of quantum companies around the world. These here are just quantum companies, so quantum startups. So let's say you don't have here IBM, Google, or Amazon, because even though they have a big focus in quantum, they are not quantum companies as a whole. You don't have end users, so you don't have, for example, Airbus here. These are just startups, and we are adding more and more every week. This is developing so fast. Like if I show you the graphic, like even 6 months ago, it's just a tremendous change every month around the world. And for the first time, it's really happening everywhere. All continents have at least one startup, which is really, really amazing. And if you want to know more, here is the distributions per country. So one of the questions that a lot of people have is, do I need to move to, let's say, if we think about who have more quantum startups, is US, UK, and Canada. So the first question is, do I need to move to one of these countries if I want to work in quantum? And the answer is no, because as you see here, there are so many countries with at least one or two startups where this is showing that the effort is really global, and this is showing you as well that wherever you are, you have the chance to be part of the quantum ecosystem, and it doesn't mean that you will have to move necessarily to be part of it. Now, if we try to split in sectors, I like to tell you here that when you see this 2% of enabling technologies, this is going to change, because when I mention here enabled technologies, I mean lasers, cryogenics, vacuum systems, all these kind of technologies that are part of the supply chain. So they are not developing a quantum product, but whatever they are developing is an essential part of the chain to develop a quantum product. And there are so many. So imagine how many laser companies that are enabling products that are part of the supply chain. So this graph is going to change, because I think we need to focus more on enabled technologies. And I say this because a lot of people looking for jobs, they are always focusing on quantum companies that are developing algorithms or a quantum computer, but maybe a laser company could offer you a job and you are still part of this quantum ecosystem. So if we think about the other sectors, you have quantum communications, you have computing, hardware, software, or let's say the full stack. Then you have sensing and imaging, and you have security. So it's a little bit different between communication and security, because you have, for example, companies working, let's say, quantum random number generators. This is part of quantum communications. But then you have people working on post-quantum algorithms, which is part of quantum security. And here is what you can see, just an example of what you can see in the media. So a lot of things. And this was one of the things that for me was really important. It was trying to get what is out there and what is true and share with everyone. That's how I started really to be active in this kind of outreach way, like to say, this is a very good news that everybody should know about what is happening in quantum, or this is just something that we shouldn't care and we should tell everyone that it's not as important or that it's not fully true. So this is how everything started. Yeah, so I've been talking a little bit about my career and then in general, but I guess you are wondering, okay, but what are you doing? Why are you here? So I told you about how I moved from industry to academia. And when I moved there, I saw this big gap in, when you think in the mindset between the people working in research and the people in industry, it's just so different. It's a new way, it's a different way to look at things, to work. So again, this is something, it's a new technology that is like everyone is working together, but it's like you are trying to put completely different things working together to develop a common goal. So it's like mixing water and oil and trying to figure out how the result is going to be perfect. So there was this huge gap, and everybody knows about this gap. But I was always saying, it's not just between research and industry, it's also the government and the general public. There are so many gaps where people are trying to understand what quantum technologies means and what quantum technology is actually going to mean for a specific sector, for a specific individual, because it really depends. By the way, this is going to be the answer for a lot of your questions. It depends. It depends on the country, on the technology, on the kind of company, on your skills. So you will see, I'm going to be answering all these questions, but it depends. So that was really what I found. It was nothing new. But then I said, I'm involved in this ecosystem. I'm creating a network. Why don't I ask people what they think that is needed to actually push this forward? So that's what I started to do. Like 3-4 years ago, I was going to events and I was asking people, what do you think that we need to move this technology forward? What do you think that we need to convince governments to put money? What do you think? And I was gathering all this information. So I was trying to put the pieces together. And well, not as easy as I know what I want to do and I'm going to create a company. It was not like that. It was really like, I have an idea. I I want to create something where I can bring people together, where I can answer all these questions, but I didn't know how. And that's how I applied to this fellowship last year, 2 years ago. And they announced last year that that's why they call me this quantum ambassador. So it was really like, I had all this information. I know how we could kind of answer all these questions, how we can fill the gaps. Why not? Let's just try. And that's how actually QURECA was born last year. So QURECA means quantum resources and careers. And we are here to talk a lot about careers. And you have seen from my career before, the resources was something also very, very important. So when we think about the goals of QURECA, and they haven't changed since I thought about these some years ago, it's really, again, it's really having a common language. Who are you? Are you an individual? Are we talking to a bank or an end user? How can we create a common language that is this new quantum language that everyone achieves the goals of where they want to go? If you're a company and you are wondering whether it's time for you to have a strategy into quantum, we need to understand what is your business. Is it time for you? You need to wait. What is really the strategy? So at the end, we want everyone ready for quantum, whenever that time is, which is not the same time for everyone. And we, at the end, the goal is to create value, to create an impact, and to create a business. This is what we are doing with all these. We are creating a new market, a new technology that is going to change our lives. And we know this because in the past, there have been other technological revolutions that have changed our lives. So if you think about the Industrial Revolution or internet, everything has been just a completely full change in how society and business works. So here is the question, how is going to quantum revolutionize our world? And the answer is, it depends how we look at it, because we don't have all the answers yet. So what do we offer with QURECA? QURECA offers different kind of services. So if you see on the left-hand side, business development and business intelligence, this is what I have been saying now. If we are working, imagine we work with a quantum company, wherever they are, because we work globally, and they are a new company, they are mainly researchers, and they are wondering how they can grow the business, how they can get there into the ecosystem, how they can gain visibility, how they can understand who could be their customers. So we are working with them in these business development activities. But then you have the end users, you have the people who are going to use the technology, banks, pharma company, whoever they are, and they want to build a strategy. They want to understand if they need to create new capacity, whether if they need to hire people, if they need to train people. What is the strategy for these new companies, or all companies that need to upskill and think about their new strategy in quantum? And then it comes the focus of everything, training and resourcing. Because when I was talking to people in the last years, a lot of people were saying, it's going to be hard about how to find the skills, but we need to hire a lot of people because there are more and more companies. You have seen before that we have a lot of companies around the world. So I was thinking, what if actually we create a recruitment company? But we can provide more things than just recruitment services. And again, thinking about my resource management experience, it was really about thinking about the competencies and the skills. So everything kind of came together. And that's what we call now the skills and competencies platform. So the way that we want our business model to work, we have different kind of training. So it could be, we have an online training platform, so MOOC platform with online courses. We are creating the courses at the moment, and we are going to launch the first two, hopefully before Christmas, if everything goes well. So we will provide different kind of training, or we will kind of tell you where to find the training, and then we will tell you how you need to go from where you are to the job that you're looking for. So we train you, and then we place you into your dream job. And at the same time, we are working with quantum companies that are looking to hire people. So if you think about how this works, it's really building the new quantum workforce. It's about upskilling people, training them, and then placing them into jobs. And at the same time, training in terms of strategy, training companies that want to grow their strategy to create this new quantum workforce within the company, and then they will hire more people. So at the end, it's really to develop this new quantum workforce and develop quantum leaders. a lot of people say, but how is this all working? Like, what is your unique value? Well, again, is the network. I have been almost 4 or 5 years now talking to people all over the world. So I have a very good network on both sides, industry and in academia. And I have the expertise. I have been working in industry, and I know how I understand the techniques because I have been doing my PhDs. So I understand the science, and at the same time, I understand the business. But it's not just about me. It's really about being able to find the right partners to provide the right service. So what do we do at the end? If depending if you are as an individual or you as a company, if you come to us, it's like, really, what do you need? What kind of resources do you need? Do you need training? Do you need to look for a job? So we try to find the ideal job for you. But if you're a company, or if you're a person for a company, what do you need? Do you need consulting services, as I mentioned before, or specific training, or you are looking to hire candidates? So we have these different kind of services depending on who the customer is. And now when we talk about the quantum workforce, and this is really interesting because, again, like 2 years ago, there were some like here, some titles in the media, there were some news about it. People were complaining already. They mentioned this quantum bottleneck or shortage, and like already forecasting that there was going to be this shortage of skills. But it's really in the last year when a lot of people are starting really to talk, and you can see it. They are almost every 2 months or so, there will be a panel discussion about the workforce, about the education. And I think people realize that we have been creating this ecosystem. There are a lot of companies. This is growing a lot. But once we have actually the technology in 5, 10, 20 years, who is going to take all those jobs? And we have made this estimation at QURECA. We have estimated how the job market is going to grow. And you see here, we are in 2020, and you see it's going to grow, and it's growing because we have seen this. But still, it's emerging because mostly they are startups. So now, if you think about when all this technology is actually developed, in the next 20 years, when this is exponential, how can we be sure that there are enough people that they can take these jobs? And if it's in 20 years, the people are going to be that have to take those jobs, these people are still in primary school now. So that's why it's so important to think about how to train now the workforce of the future. And that's why I think that, for example, what QuantumWorld is doing is really, really amazing because it's the only way. And let's think about education now. So if you have the different levels of education, so you have primary school, high school, then whatever you go, college or university, then you have undergrads, postgrads, PhD. Now, for these people that are going to take the jobs in 20 years, if they are in primary school or high school, there are only 2 ways to convince them. Well, I guess the third way is we put a lot on YouTube and in social media, but let's think about how can we do better outreach? How can we do more public engagement activities that these young people can be engaged as soon as possible in what quantum means? And also, and you see it here on the right-hand side, we need to involve the teachers. It's not just because it's really hard to convince, maybe if they are not interested into science, someone who is, I don't know, 14 years old right now, it's about the teachers. The teachers need to know about this new technology that maybe every year they are teaching more and more to the students. So how can we involve more people in this outreach direction in general about education? And there are a lot of activities going on all over the world, actually. So there are activities going in US where they are trying to set up more and more schemes. There is a quantum education group for the flagship in Europe. There is a huge effort in India with quantum computing India, for example. So there are a lot of schemes about really education, and this is really, really important because it's needed. Now, another question is, to which level do you need to go if you want to go into quantum? Do you need to study physics? Well, it depends. It really depends if you are thinking in the short term or in the long term. So right now, mostly of the jobs are still very focused on the science because we are still very early in the development of the technology. So most of the people that are hired still are PhDs. But there are more and more masters being developed all over the world. And I will show you later a link where you can see all the masters in quantum around the world. And this is, I think 2 years ago, there were just 3, I think, something like that. And this is exploding. And I'm going to talk more about that. But this is really about, it depends what you want, where you want to go, and what is needed in this career path and education path. Now, QURECA focuses really in the last part. So I always say, if there are these kind of education layers, we focus in the last one where people are really thinking about going into a job, and independently of where they are coming from, either from the studies or they have been working in something else and they want to move now into quantum. So we want to upskill those individuals and place them into a new job. But we also support and advise anyone who is asking for different kind of PhDs or master programs, and you will see about that. We also do a little bit of outreach, but our focus is really about this link with the quantum workforce into the job market. And that's why the big question, why are we doing this, is if we ask, are the companies actually recruiting right now? And the answer is yes. So you see here that more than half of the companies around the world are currently recruiting, which is really important. First, it's telling you that there are a lot of job openings, but at the same time, remember that we are in an emerging market, and most of these jobs are still very, very focused, very specific. This is going to change, and we know that that more and more people with masters and maybe even bachelors will be able to find a job. The question is it now the right time? Probably not. And this is what I have seen in the last months, that we were really working with companies on this. Maybe we need to wait a bit to see how this ramp is growing with quantum jobs. But remember, it really depends. So who are the companies? This is just a random bunch of companies working in quantum. I wanted to show from different countries, from different technologies, because some of them you probably, of course, know, like IBM, Google, Microsoft, IonQ, but there are some others that probably you never heard of. And we are trying to have this overview. We are creating an overview of all the quantum companies around the world. So again, it really depends where you are and where you want to go, but I'm sure that there are companies that can provide you the kind of job that you're looking for. So now, if we think about these companies, you remember the split before into sectors. This is very similar, but not exactly the same. Because when we think about the activities of companies, you have to think that you have sensors. Then you have communication. And here, in terms of activity, I put all what is cybersecurity, post-quantum, all these are part of quantum communication as an activity. Then you have quantum computing hardware, and then you have the software part. And everything that is algorithms and applications, for me, is software. But quantum computing, sometimes I have the feeling that people come and say, I'm looking for a job in quantum computing, and it has to be software. Like, you need to learn how to code. Obviously not, because you can work in quantum computing, and maybe what you need is, if you have been doing a PhD in cold atoms experiments, that's maybe what you need to build or to help to build hardware into quantum computing. So it's really about your skills and the kind of job that you're looking for. And again, facilitating technologies, I told you before that it's very, very important. And I think a lot of people don't realize that with their skills, and you will see more about that now, you can get into companies that maybe they are not called quantum companies per se, but you can be part of this ecosystem and learn about quantum technologies the same. So let's have a look at technical skills, because that's what everybody thinks the first, right? It's like, what have you studied? What is your degree? What are your skills? If you look at this picture here, you probably can figure out whether you have some of the skills here or not. But look a little bit closer. Some of them, well, actually, mostly of them, they don't require actually a physics degree or a PhD in physics. So if you have an electronics degree, electrical engineer, for example, if you have a mechanical engineering degree, if you have an engineering degree and you like to code, this could be sufficient skills for a job in quantum. Again, could that be right away? That's a different answer. Because, and I can tell you, I've been working with people with huge skills, very, very specific, amazing skills in one of these that you see here. But maybe there is not an opening yet because the companies, they need to raise the funding, they need to figure out whether they need to hire people. So there are this kind of, it's kind of a double game, right? It's like, I have enough skills, but there's not yet a job for me. That's why I think depends on where you are and where you want to go. You can either retrain yourself so you can have skills and look for all the kind of training, or you can try to find another job and then change into quantum. It's not like if you don't go in the next 6 months into a quantum company, the career is over, because you saw it's going to be there for a really long time. But really the important thing here is that at the end, it's going to be called quantum engineer. So whoever is, and now this, you will see this more and more, but most of the people that are entering as with a role in quantum technology companies, they are called quantum engineers already, independently whether they have a physics degree or engineering degree. And most of the masters that I told you before, that they are all over the world right now, they are quantum engineering masters. There are some that they are more quantum computing focused, but there are some others that they give you this overview, that they give you a little bit of experimental background as well. And yes, it's true that, and I have seen this, that some people now with a master in quantum technology, they don't find jobs so easily. Because if you have location restrictions and it happens that you finish your degree and around where you want to live, there are no companies that are actually growing at that time, maybe they are looking for very specific roles and that will require a PhD. But remember, it really depends. It's a very individual case. So don't give up. It's really unsure that you can be placed somewhere into this ecosystem. And now it's not just about technical skills. Actually, I have been in some career panels where people from other companies said the soft skills are even more important than technical skills. If you can show that you know a little bit about business, if you can show that you're good at communication, that you have teamwork or internship experience, or even if you're part of a student chapter, or if you have done some outreach, all these are much more important sometimes than if you have a lot of publications. Why? Because it can show that you can have this resilience, and you can be flexible in your job, which is really, really important when you are in industry. When you are in academia, you are more independent. But when you are really working in industry, you need to be part of a team. You need to be able to be flexible, to react. You need to communicate with others. So think about how you can develop these skills, because they are going to be really your open ticket for a position in the quantum companies. And another important message is that it's not only technical positions. There are more and more companies now looking for project managers or marketing assistants or sales. It's true as well that probably you will need a little bit of experience before. And that's why I said, if you have a master in quantum technologies and you go now to another sector, for example, and you work on sales for, I don't know, a couple of years, then you can come back and work as sales, if you like that, for quantum technology. So there is always a way to kind of steer your career in the direction where you want to go. And I have seen as well a lot of people with a lot of experience, like they are real managers and they have been running businesses for a really long time, and they are trying to go into quantum companies now. And this is again where you have difficulties. Why? Because most of the companies are still growing, and it's really hard for them to say that they need to hire a big manager. They are still, I need to hire my technical team. I need the PhDs that are doing the research. So it's again this game where the market is growing, but we're still at the very early stages, which is even better because we know that we have time to actually shape it somehow. So I guess the question that I saw a lot of questions from you, and a lot of people say, where can I start? So I'm gonna answer with another question. Where do you want to go? Because I think it's very easy to say, where can I start learning about quantum? Seriously, with the internet, you can just type quantum computing, whatever, and you have a lot of information. So I guess the question that you really need to answer yourself is, what is your next goal? It's not the final goal in life. I'm not telling you, what do you want to do in the next 10 years or in the next 20 years? It's really like, what is your next goal in your career? And I'm trying to, this is really for you. I want you to think about that, about your next steps and how you can reach that next goal in your career. So let's start with actually a statement that this is a marathon. This is not a race. So this is not going to be something that is going to be done in 1 month, unless that, yes, you have already the experience and you are looking for a specific job, then we can just look together for what kind of job, and that's it. But if you're really starting, I think the best is to look at yourself, look at your studies, your experience, trying to identify who you are in terms of the competencies and skills, and even more important, what you like to do. Because sometimes people are coming and say, I'm looking for a job in quantum computing, and I ask, do you like coding? And then they said, yeah, I enjoy experiments. So I'm like, then you don't need a job in quantum computing algorithms, because it's not what you like to do. So think about your experience and what you like to do, what you are good at, because I'm sure that you know whether you are good or not at very specific skills. And this is just a bunch of skills that you can think of. So these are the things that in one way or another, you put it in your CV, but this is really about thinking, okay, what are my technical skills? What are my leadership skills? Do I like to tell other people what to do, or the direction? I prefer that somebody's telling me what to do. Do I like to talk in front of people? Do I like to help people? Am I organized? And these things are very important, because it's also telling you, not only in terms of learning very specific technical, like if you want to learn more about coding, it's really about what are the skills that you need to develop. So it's about assessing yourself. And then the next step is really, what do you want? What is your next goal? Do you want just to learn, which is totally fine? That's what I was doing. I was doing that for I don't know how many years. I was working as an engineer, and my goal was to learn more about physics. But at one point, my goal was really, I wanted to change my career. But I'm sure and sometimes it's, yeah, I'm not sure. It could be a PhD or a job. I'm not sure. That's fine. But I'm sure that you are aware if what you need is to learn more because you are not sure about the next step, or if you are if you would like a job right away, or if you're looking for an internship. And another question that I always ask is, what kind of job, what kind of PhD do you think that you where, like in experiments, in theory, in US, in Europe? These kind of questions are the questions that I ask people. And I'm telling you this because this is really my job. This is really what we are doing at QURECA. I'm talking to people, with a lot of individuals. So we are creating a lot of content, but at the same time, it's really talking to people to understand what the next goals are for them, and trying to help them to achieve those goals. So once you know your goal, it's really about moving forward. So you need to understand what is needed and to have an action plan. And again, this is really what we're doing. So we support a lot of people on resources, telling them what kind of companies, looking at specific articles, looking at specific courses. So yeah, this is, but the first one, I cannot help you. The first one is really about your background and understanding your starting point. So if everything goes well and you have a good plan, I'm sure that you can achieve your goal. But really, you need time, and it depends where you start. It really depends. You cannot think that, and I have seen this as well, I have seen people with a completely different degree, like nothing to do with physics or engineering at all, and they were actually applying for a job as quantum engineer, that cannot be done like right away. You need to understand that you will need to learn probably some further skills, or that you need to understand how is the market, what are your options. So you just need time. And if you're doing your PhD, I always tell this to people, don't wait until you are writing up, don't wait until you are finishing, because then you are in a hurry, and then you don't have time to think about all these. So try to, 6 months before you end up your postdoc or PhD or master, start thinking about this, because it takes time. And I've been talking a lot already. So let's go back to QURECA. I just want to give you a little bit overview of how this works on the website. But yes, it's not just me, and it cannot be just me, because it's impossible. We are doing a lot of things. And this is thanks to an amazing team, to an amazing group of mentors that are there that can assess and advise. So yeah, it's a lot of people, and it's really about partnerships. We are working with so many people all over the world, trying to figure out how we can work together, how we can put together our skills to develop the best services, and also the support of different kind of societies and networks and different entrepreneurial networks as well. Because even though I was in industry before and then in academia, being an entrepreneur is a completely different story. So let's go to the website just to show you a little bit how this works. So this is how the QURECA website looks like. You have here resources and blog. We are putting more things into the blog, but if you would like to write something for the blog, please just tell me, and we will publish it. And on resources, we are gonna make the link to QWorld for sure. So this is really about putting all the resources to link everyone and to provide the different services for the community. And yes, this is done as a business, but it's really I would like to think as a central point to make the link between the community, as I mentioned before. So if it's the first time that you're coming and you would like to sign up, you just need to go to sign up. And then if it's the first time, you need to register. Now, when you register, so this is for free, it will ask you what kind of user you are. You can be a person looking for training, a person looking for jobs, a person looking for both, and this is like you still don't know what you're looking for, or you can be a company looking to hire and train. Now, once you register and you enter into your user profile, you will see something like this. Then you see here, how does it work? This is more information, because some people thought that we will have kind of a job market where you will apply for jobs. No, this is not the way it works. It's really about a service. It's really about understanding your way, your path, where you are and where you want to go, and to support you with that. So it's not just an application for jobs market directly, as you will see, for example, in LinkedIn. So once you enter here, you have the two boards if you have chosen for both options. So you have the learning and the recruitment dashboard. On the learning side, right now, there are no courses, because as I said, we are creating the courses now. One important thing is how we are doing these courses is there are a lot of online platforms, and they work together with universities normally so they are academics, the people who are delivering the courses. We work with industry. So we work with quantum companies, and they create the content, and we transform that into an online course. Mostly of the people in quantum companies, they were academics before. But what I want to say is that the mindset and the target is a different one. It's really, if you want, I can tell you. So this is the first one we are going to launch, Quantum for Everyone. You have here the information about what is inside. You get your certificate that is going to have some credits, so everything is accredited. We are going to launch for specific sectors. For example, if you think about financial applications, we will have two courses. One that is about finance, if you are coming from engineering or physics or software, and you would like to learn more about the finance, and another one for people who are coming from finance and they would like to know about quantum computing applications for finance. So this is one example. Another one is courses in different languages, because we thought that was also necessary. So we are going to launch courses in Spanish, in Russian, and in Portuguese for the moment. Then for recruitment, you can do two things. You can come to the website and go to my resumes and write what you're looking for and upload your CV. And then we will see it, and you will have a kind of an individual meeting with me where we are trying to understand where you are. Or you can send me directly an email, but this is much better because then all the information is in the platform. That is really what we want. But you can already see some jobs openings because you can select if they are kind of the jobs that you are looking for. You cannot apply, but you can tell us if this is the kind of jobs that you think they look interesting. And this is important because sometimes just by looking at a CV and a job, you will say, wow, this could look as a fit. But there is so much afterwards. It's all this process about understanding the skills and try to fit them into a specific role. If you're a company, you can add jobs openings and kind of manage all that. You can tell us what you're looking for. And yeah, as I said, QURECA is really about resources. So we have more things on the education side. We have the online platform. We are offering and creating specific tailored packages for companies. We have a lot of webinars and workshops as well, specific by sector. So we really focus on specific technology or specific sector or specific end users and businesses. So we had an investors event last week or 2 weeks ago. Then on the recruitment side, we have recruitment as a service. And we also have a lot of career events because we focus on careers. And we also have a lot of tutorials. So we have been part of different conferences this year where we had tutorials where we teach you a little bit about how you can create better CVs, how you can prepare for interviews, things like this. Then we have a lot of information. So I told you before about the blog, and I will tell you about the events calendar. And it's really about building community, but focusing on this end sector or on a specific technology or by region. So one of the things, and this I have to tell you today because I know that there are people from Latin America today, we are gonna launch, if everything goes well, we are going to organize the first Quantum in Latin America, big event next year. Don't ask me if it's gonna be virtual or not because we don't know yet. But if you're interested and if you have some links to people there, I would talk also to QWorld about Q Mexico. So yeah, that's something that we wanted to launch since last year, and we have in mind it's going to be, we want to do something big next year in Latin America. So more resources, and we are adding more and more information. So you can go to resources. This is all in the website and for free. So you have education there. You have some general websites where you can find from very general websites about physics in general and quantum physics, quantum optics, to very specific about using specific quantum computing platforms, for example, where we also have the link to QWorld. Then you have a link to all masters and to find internships and PhDs in quantum. We will put a list of quantum companies and you will see all the different things that we are doing in the media. And if you want to know about quantum events, there are so many that sometimes it's really, really hard to keep track on everything that is happening. But here you will need to register, and then you go to events and you will have this calendar. And then it's all for free. You can download it and you can find the events and all the links to the different events of all quantum events happening around the world, which is a lot because mostly it's virtual now, so imagine. But yeah, so there's no excuse anymore to miss any quantum event. So I'm about to finish. I just want to tell you again that really our focus is to create this common language to make everyone ready for quantum and to focus on the quantum workforce. And we organized the first Careers in Quantum event. That was end of October. And we had more than 400 people register. And that was only focusing UK companies. So we are going to do the next one next year where it's going to be either we start with Europe or it's going to be global. But yeah, we are there to provide you all the information about careers in quantum. And I want you to join the quantum revolution. Thank you very much.
So thanks, Araceli. That was a great talk. It was really informative. So thanks for all those information. Right now, I will share my screen and we will move on to questions. There were quite a lot of questions. So let's start. Like there were some questions about, for instance, from Rishabh Ghosh. He asked like, how can he start working on hardware architecture while like he has a software engineer background?
My first question to you, Rishabh, will be why? Why do you want to change from software to hardware? If you have an answer, I hope that you have. But yeah, it's going to be hard because, as you may know, going into hardware, if you have no background at all on experimental side, it's going to be hard. So I guess you have two options. You can study something like, I don't know your degree, but you can maybe do a master's or a PhD, or trying to get into an internship. Or you can work for an part of the supply chain technology companies, like a laser company or another kind of companies that are working on a technology that is linked to directly hardware somehow. So I think that would be probably my advice.
So thanks. There's a question about, can you suggest some universities for master degree in quantum technology?
So as I said, you can see all the masters right now on the link that I just showed you. So you have all the list. If you're asking me about leading, that's a good question. In the UK, they started some years ago. So there are, I think in UCL, there is one in terms of master. There is another one in Switzerland. But yeah, just have a look at this link or send me an email if you cannot find it.
Okay, so there is a question from Rajay from India. How can I contribute to quantum hardware development, especially in the field of quantum photonics? And how can I grab the opportunity to work in this field? What are the prerequisites?
That's a good question. So you're a master student. I suppose that you are a master student in physics.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm thinking what I know right now about that specific role. So you could do a PhD in any kind of photonics called atoms, so very experimental, where you have the hands-on experience with that. So I think that will be the easiest way. You can try to ask if there are internships. I know that a lot of people are asking for internships, and it's not so easy to get an internship because, again, remember that the companies are just starting, so they are really busy trying to develop the technology, so they don't have time to actually supervise a lot of people doing internships at the moment. But if you're interested, you can think about maybe doing an internship over summer with a experimental group in a university or a kind of institute like the MPL. So these kind of institutes that are about measurement and things like this, like national institutes. So I will guess try to start with an internship or go directly to a PhD into that, probably.
So thanks. There were quite a lot of questions about how to start a career in quantum technology, and
I answer. I hope.
yeah, you answered it. Just like there was a question, what avenues are there for entry-level positions? Like once you complete a bachelor's degree, and like how to get some experience before returning to do a complete PhD. So this is from Felipe from USA.
That's a very good question as well. So what I have said, if you have done, or if you're interested in coding, you can just get a job in software development. There are thousands of jobs. So you can do something like this, or trying to get another job. If you like more experimental side, again, laser companies or these kind of companies, to get 1 or 2 years of experience, and then you can always decide later if you want to do a PhD or not. But for bachelors, to go directly into quantum is hard unless that is, as I said, that is something that is kind of general. So I can give you that there are some positions where they are kind of assistants, let's say. So they are not really working on the device or coding, but they are kind of helping and supporting the people in startups. So these are the kind of positions that I have advised people to do or to look for. But yeah, if you know if it's more on the experimental or the software side, if it's software, it's easy. Just do software development and then wait a little bit while you are also studying by yourself in quantum.
Thanks. There was a question from Nitya from England, and advice for school leavers looking to work in quantum computing, and also like if one is especially interested in the physics part.
That's easy. There are so many things online. So yeah, you will find in our courses we are going to give some overviews, but you have a lot of resources. What QWorld is presenting as well. So if you're interested in the physics, like more on the fundamental science, there are a lot of resources already. If you have any specific, yeah, you can ask me. You can write me, send me an email or whatever. But if it's really the fundamental part of it, that's there.
There were quite a lot of questions about opportunities from around the world. For instance, like what about internships in China, and how does one get an internship after a master's degree? So that was another question.
That's another very good question. So in China, and we were looking at that recently, I don't think it's really easy to find an internship in China. Probably, as I said before, if you can talk to the university, well, to the groups, to the research leaders directly and ask them whether they are looking for interns. It's always, as I said, it's always they will tell you that they don't have time to teach anyone. But one thing that we are actually planning to do next year is creating internship programs with companies, because they don't have the time to manage. So we are trying to partner with them and create these programs. So far, it's a little bit hard, but yeah. It really depends where you are as well, if there are opportunities.
And there's a question from Divya Jyoti from India. What are the career opportunities for non-residents of the USA or the European Union?
Again, super good question. So right now in US, it's really hard to find a job if you are not the US citizen, but I think next year next year a lot of things are going to change, as you can imagine from the situation right now. So I think a lot of companies are just waiting a bit and see whether they can hire from outside. In the EU, so for example, if you're looking for PhDs, it's true that in EU or UK, it's really hard if you're coming from outside. But there are other places like Australia or Singapore that are quite open to fund people from anywhere around the world. So remember, there are companies all over the world.
Thanks. There were questions about Latin America, as you mentioned, like one from Fernando and Jose Ignacio. How to establish a company in Mexico in quantum technologies, and how is the working panorama for Latin American countries?
Yeah, it's really developing a lot, and I'm really excited about this event next year. What I have seen, so I think at the end of last year, when I look at quantum companies in Latin America, I think I had one contact, and I was like, okay, nothing else is happening. But then I had a lot of more contact. I established interaction with people and with more countries. So there are more than one company. There are a lot of people doing amazing things. I think it's just to make the link. And this is really why we're trying to do this next year, because we want to make the link between the people working in academia, the big companies, and the people in startups, or the people who has ideas for startups, and trying to support them on this kind of new Latin American ecosystem.
And what would you say for India? There's a question from Mansi, like basically the same question for India. What are the internship and working opportunities?
Yeah, I don't know where Gujarat is, but in India, there is this quantum computing India that they are doing amazing things as well, if you want to know. But the network, so India is putting a lot of money into the research. So if you are looking for opportunities, probably you can look directly into academia and ask if they offer internships. So you have a lot of opportunities right now in India. There are some companies, I don't think they are hiring massively right now, but they are growing. So it's really about being part of the community, maybe being part of academia a little bit, and see when these companies are ready to hire more people.
And same question for Australia. from Nasif. How are the prospects of both research and jobs in quantum technologies?
So Australia has been doing a lot of stuff in the last years, but they are going to kind of boost a big network next year. So they are going to trying to create more entrepreneurship mindset in Australia. So you will see, I think that you will see more and more new opportunities in Australia next year. So I'm trying to get more information about that and trying to work with the people there. But I think it's looking really good at the moment.
Okay, another thing people are asking is like whether there are any opportunities without doing PhD. So the same question was asked by many people.
Yeah.
Therefore, I won't ask one by one, but so what is your opinion?
Yeah, as I answered before, I think it depends. It's really, so far it's tricky because most of the companies are looking people with specific skills. But if you have a master degree, if you can show that, for example, in software, I think it's easier. So if you're interested in going into software or quantum computing and you can demonstrate that in your master's you have done something in that direction, I think you can find a job. If you are going into the hardware direction, as I mentioned before, it's more difficult just with a master so far.
So thank you. And in general, what sort of background is recommended for a career in quantum technology? So this is by Kyle Lee.
Yeah, I think I answered that as well. So it's really multidisciplinary right now. So it depends what you are looking for, but any kind of engineering with the skills that I mentioned before. Again, if you are an oil and gas engineer, probably it's quite hard, unless that there is an oil and gas company that is creating a quantum department and they need more people working in that. That could be an option, but I don't think we are there yet. And I think this is going to come in the next years. That's why I think that more and more different skills and backgrounds are going to be needed. So far, it's really engineering, software developers, and chemistry, and physics. But electrical and electronics engineer is something that is very, very useful for any kind of market. And in quantum, there are a lot of people looking for these skills. And it's not so easy to find. So if you have background in electrical electronics engineer, and if you can do a little bit in quantum, that you can kind of put everything together, you are good to go.
Thanks. I guess you answered those questions, so I won't ask them again, like about industrial opportunities or opportunities for those holding bachelor degrees. And you also talked about skills companies are looking for. So exactly, you answered that question as well. There's a question especially about quantum machine learning from Mehdi Benchika from Tunisia. What are the companies working on the field and what are the skills needed for those opportunities?
Yeah, there are a lot of companies working in this as well. And if you have demonstrated background on that, so it's really hard if you haven't worked on that at all and you're saying, I'm looking for a job in quantum machine learning. That's going to be hard. But if you can demonstrate that you have experience, and again, I know that's the tricky word, it's experience, it's not the degree. And that's I know that it's tricky because you can show that you have done a lot of courses. But is that enough that a company is gonna hire you to work in a very specific thing like this? Maybe we are not there yet. Maybe in some months or a couple of years, more people with no very specific degree is gonna be able to find a job because the job market is gonna grow. So right now it's again very specific, but there are a lot of companies working in quantum machine learning. So I can tell you more depends on where you are in Tunisia. So I guess Asia probably will be a direction for you because in UK or Europe or US, probably it's going to be harder. UK companies now, some of them are hiring without the need for a visa as well. But Australia and Asia in general are quite open to hire people from all over the world.
So at the beginning of the talk, you mentioned that you have taken an online course, and Afra Najib from UK is asking about that. So which course is that?
So I took the Exploring Quantum Physics from Coursera. That was in 2013. So I think it was the first one. It was the very beginning of Coursera and all these things. That's why I'm creating this online platform because actually online platform changed my career. So for me, it's really, really important what it did. But and I'm going to tell you about this because it's kind of answering as well these questions. So I had this degree, right? I was doing this online course and I was going with my certificate and everything. It took me almost 2 years until I got the position and I could really move. So again, it's not going to be, if you really need this long path because your background is different, it's not going to be 6 months. This is really, because 6 months is taking anywhere who is, if you're looking for a job and whoever is experienced in looking for jobs, it's taking 3 to 6 months easily. So if you're looking for a new career, it's going to take some time, but it doesn't matter because it's growing and you are going to have the opportunity. You just need to be in part of the family, I would say.
And what kind of PhD would you recommend for someone with a background in quantum computation and open quantum system dynamics?
So I guess you are in theory with what you're saying. So anything that is, if you like that, any kind of quantum computing or tensor networks, quantum simulation will be okay. And then you can go to any kind of work in software. So yeah, for PhDs is easy.
This question is from Dr. Sveta Sharma. Is it necessary to have good knowledge of programming for quantum computing?
Yes, and actually my answer will be, it's like you need to like it. Because you can know a lot about programming, but if you don't like it and you cannot be in front of coding the whole day, like I cannot, then it's not a job for you. So yes, at least you will know about Python, how to install things. So yeah.
Thanks. And there were questions from like people about switching careers. So you answered this, I guess, for electrical and electronic students. And how can a software engineer make a transition to a quantum computing career?
Yeah, there are a lot of resources out there, but we are actually trying to create more courses on that. So we are creating things that are really specific for software engineers that want to transition into quantum, because we think that the way that the skills that you need to learn are a little bit different from a general quantum computing course.
There was a question from Devang Gajar from India, like especially someone who is working in a healthcare sector, like in healthcare related projects, 15 years of experience in software development. What kind of opportunities do you think will there be?
I love this kind of stories. I have seen this a lot lately. I guess if you're in India, my first question would be, would you be able or would you be willing to relocate? Because if you want to stay right now in India, maybe it's not going to be so easy. I think, as I said before, in India, there are more and more things happening, and I think a lot of companies are going to grow. But if you're willing to relocate, I think you are going to have a lot of opportunities. But even if you have a lot of experience in software, right now, for what I'm saying is you will go more into a project management role for what I see here. Now, if you're telling me that you are looking for more technical role, then you will need to upskill yourself and you will need to learn more about quantum. But with what you have and a little bit of knowledge about quantum, if you are happy to work into a project management role, for example, that will be okay.
And what role would you suggest for mechanical engineer? This is from Frederick from India.
Let me think about something very specific. I think we are a little bit too early for that, but there are more and more people working on very specific use cases with on engineering problems, like, for example, in manufacturing, just as an example. So I guess when we have more use cases in that direction and there are more projects and people are looking about these specific kind of problems, they would like to have a multidisciplinary team where there will be the more academic PhD in quantum together with someone with a background like you, that you can work in these kind of problems. But I think it's early. I don't think, yeah. But maybe in 1 year, we will have more opportunities in this direction.
This is from Virat Kumar Kothari from India. I love quantum computing and artificial intelligence. how can you guys on further career?
Yeah, I think it's similar to the bank from before. If you want to stay into technical, you will need to upskill yourself. If you want to, maybe what you have applied in IT directly, like a management role, or I don't know what you have done before, you could apply directly. But I think a lot of software companies are going to start thinking about the strategy to go into quantum. So these kind of companies all over the world probably will be hiring people that are software engineers and then create this transition together into quantum. I see this coming.
Now there are some questions about QURECA. How can one associate with your company while pursuing their PhD? I mean, like, what sort of positions are available to work in your company?
Oh, thanks for the interest. We had some internships available as well. We have been working with the universities here, actually in Scotland now, with some roles. But I'm happy to talk to you and see a little bit more about your skills and see if there is an opportunity. So yeah, actually, my team is started to be so delocalized because there are people from all over the world. There are people in Canada, in US, and in Europe at the moment. So yeah, with the, working virtually, it doesn't matter where you are.
And there is a question from Afra Najib. In what platform will you be offering the courses you mentioned?
Yeah, so we have our own platform for online training.
Okay, and Dana says that, like, you mentioned a quantum education group in Europe.
Yes. I can send you the link later if you send me an email. I need to look for it, but you can probably type directly quantum education working group flagship, and you should be able to find it. Otherwise, send me an email.
That's the one from like flagship, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's move on. Now there are some questions about the future of like quantum computing and like about careers. I think you mentioned like how it's going to be like in 5 or in 10 years. This is from Andres from China, but do you want to add something?
No, I think I show you how we think that the job market is going to develop. I think, again, I don't think anyone can tell you how it's going to be, because I think we need a breakthrough that is going to happen soon, but how soon is difficult. And once we have this breakthrough, everything is going to change. So I think it's super exciting time, because we are going to see a big change in society in the near term.
And what about quantum computer technologies in 10 or 15 years?
Yeah, the same. So it's really, I think there will be more and more people working on these cloud services and niche computers. And then once we have a real quantum computer that we can do crazy things with it, then a lot of things are going to change. Yeah, but it's hard to say. But at least I like that you wrote 10 to 15, not 3 to 5.
And this is from Yajek from India. And do you think that physical layer will soon be abstracted away and the most needed skills will be software engineering, like in the case of classical computing in the next few years?
I think they have to be both at the moment, because we don't have the computer. So if you are thinking about last century, we had computers, and then a lot of people started to work on programs that you could use in any computer. But right now we don't have computer yet, so we need people developing the computer and at the same time developing the programs. So no, I think we need both, at least in the near term. Yeah.
And now there are some questions about quantum computing. So in general,
don't go into technical now.
So like this is from Christine Mendoza from Bolivia. Do you think quantum computing will be close to robotics? And what can be the result of applying quantum computing in robotics and neurocybernetics?
That's a very good question. I attended one talk, I think it was the beginning of this year or the end of last year, where we discussed about these. I don't think we know, but I can tell you one thing that we are trying to do as well is as part of the World Economic Forum, we are trying to think about how these emerging technologies are going to be like how they are going to affect society. So what are the effects in general in society? And we need to think about how that they are going to be used for the good and not for the bad. So we are kind of thinking about these things on the global perspective. But yeah, I cannot go into more details.
Okay. Uday basically asked a similar question, but like he has also asked about space science. Do you have any like comments or?
So for space science, so for example, you see, when you mention space science, I will think more about quantum communication than quantum computing, because everybody's thinking more about quantum computing. But right now, everything that is happening on the space is really the quantum communication. So you have, if you think about the satellites, the mission satellites from China, so it was about how to use quantum communication. So quantum technologies with space technologies more on how to enhance communication, how to enhance cybersecurity and cryptography. So that's the direction for space more than quantum computing.
And this was exactly like communication what Tushar from India asked. Do you think it will be feasible and worth exploring communication using quantum technology?
Yeah, this is the same. This is how you use. So now the idea is about thinking how to use quantum technologies in communication with satellites, for example, not to have fiber optics. And you could think there are people thinking about applications in 5G. So yeah, there is research on that.
And a question from Gunta from India. How soon and what aspects of data security and compliance do we foresee in next 2 years and in next 3 to 5 years?
I don't know in which direction you're asking. If you are talking about standards, there are standards that everyone is using right now in cryptography, but there are new standards being developed. So this is one thing that we were involved as well, trying to understand how these new compliances, you can call it. If you're, I don't know if this is what you're asking, but there are kind of people trying to develop different standards at the moment for new quantum communication, post-quantum cryptography, and these kind of things.
A question from Przemysław from Denmark. What will be the first industry which will start testing and adapting quantum computing? And what will be the use case?
My answer will be the first kind of use case that you see right now. They are all optimization problems somehow, because they think that is the way to go. But I think really the application is going to be, once we are able to have a quantum computer, it's going to be material science and chemistry. And yeah, so it's really able to simulate materials at the quantum scale. That is where the change is going to be. But yeah, there are a lot of industries right now, so you can find this anywhere. You have from finance to logistics to a lot of different companies trying to tackle different kind of problems with quantum computing.
And how much time do you think will it take for quantum to become main technology on the market? So this is from Gargana from Bulgaria.
Is it quantum going to become the main technology, or is just like what would you say that is the main technology right now? I'm just figuring out how you compare this. What is the main technology right now? Is it the internet? If you would consider that, I would say yes, quantum will come in 10 to 20 years, probably 20. But yeah, I will try to think whether it's going to be the main technology or it's going to be a mixture of emerging technologies at the moment altogether.
A question from Pradnesh Chavan from India. How much physics and CS is involved in quantum cryptography and QML?
What do you mean with CS?
Computer science.
Ah, sorry. Okay, so in quantum cryptography, you will need more physics. In quantum machine learning, you will need physics as well. But you will, if you have a background in computer science, it will be easier for you to learn that. So I guess you are coming from one of these two directions, and you are wondering which direction to go. So I think I answer a lot of that, thinking about where you want to go and all these. But happy to discuss more if you feel to.
There are some two technical questions. I don't know if we should go over, but one is how does quantum science help us solving complex problems practically, like cryptography and machine learning. This is from Teja from India.
Yeah, I don't understand the question.
And there's a question about how data is loaded to quantum computers.
Yes. So I saw this question and I was trying to answer. So this is a tricky question and there are a lot of people trying to figure out. So I think the answer for that, it will be a very long email. So I'm happy to send you that email for you. Yeah. And yes, it's a bottleneck.
And this is from Syed Said from UK. Do you see the financial banks and funds opening up to quantum computing already, or is it just an academic exercise at the moment? You mentioned a lot of like funding from all over the world.
Yeah, that's so. If the question is really about if banks are open now to work on quantum, I think it's a mix. They want to see how they can benefit their business, which is, I think, obvious. So they are open, but it's not like a lot of banks are hiring a lot of quantum scientists. There are some that I don't know if you have heard of that, but there are some banks that they are starting to create their own quantum department. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of the strategy that they are following, but I think if one with a quantum department is working well, in the next year or two, a lot of banks are going to follow.
By the way, do you have some more time?
I don't even know what time is it now.
It's like
okay.
It's been 1 hour 30 minutes. I can ask some more if you have time.
Let's do 10 minutes more if you want.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there like financial investment or insurance companies trying to utilize quantum technology?
So for investment, I think I have answered that already. On banking, on insurance companies, I think there are some trying to figure out, but I don't know of a very clear use case that they are already pursuing. There are talks, but I don't think it has been done. Okay.
So we talked about Latin American market. Maybe I can ask this one, how to get postdoc research in quantum computing technology.
So I don't know what you're asking for. If you're asking for a postdoc, there is this link, find a postdoc. But I guess if you know exactly what kind of position you're looking for, I can tell you a little bit more, because I know from specific positions that maybe they are not yet out there for postdocs, but I will need to know more about your background. For the next one, I think I answer. I'm good at computer vision in AI. I don't know. I cannot answer that.
And like if there's a question about working pure math side of quantum computation or information, are there such positions in academia?
Sure, yeah, there's a lot of research positions. There are a lot of people working on the pure mathematics side of it, so yes.
And are there positions in which you can work abroad virtually right now?
Good question. I think for research, like maybe, yeah, a PhD even is okay. For jobs, so far, not so easy. And
there is a question from Asif. We mentioned cryptography, but like, what is the future of cybersecurity via quantum computing, and when will quantum computing be integrated into network security massively?
You see, I think people are mixing sometimes quantum computing with quantum communications. They are different technologies. So yeah, I think I answered before, but they are different kind of technology. It's not like you are going to use a quantum computer for cybersecurity. It's the fact that having a quantum computer who could break the cryptography system that we have right now. That's why we have a new technology that is based on quantum mechanics that can be used for quantum communication, but it's a different kind of technology.
And how can we start a QML career? This is from Tuba.
Yeah, I need to know where you are. Like
from Turkey, I guess.
Yeah, if you have a master's or anything, so yeah. If you have a master's, maybe and you like this, maybe looking for a PhD. Oh, questions about salaries.
Yes. What are the estimated annual salaries for quantum software engineers in general, or let's say in US at IBM?
Oh, this is varies a lot. Depends on the job, on the region. I don't know. I could tell you anything, and it really varies a lot. So yeah, I cannot give you a definite answer, but I can also say here something that I always say, that sometimes people think that if you go to industry, you're gonna earn much more than doing a postdoc. So remember, it depends. So sometimes doing a postdoc in some countries, the salary is more or less the same that you will have with a job in industry if you are starting. So think as well. So if you think about salaries, which is something very good to have in mind. So it really depends on the region. So in the US, I think if you're working for IBM, probably you will have a very good salary. But if you are looking for another position or another country, maybe if you're looking for salary, it's not going to be as easy or as high.
And I think that's all. We are
Wow.
finally. So let me stop sharing.
Okay.
So thanks again for the talk and for answering all those questions. So I think it was a really useful talk and all those answers. So thank you very much again.
Thanks to you. You can send me the chat script just that I have it for, because I haven't been able to read it. But you can send me these that I can see.
Yeah, we asked already all the questions in the chat. So
okay.
Also from YouTube.
Oh wow, you are really efficient. Okay, good. So yeah, I hope that it was useful. Thanks so much for.
So thanks everyone for listening. We hope to see you in our future webinars as well. So we thank to Araceli again. See you everyone.
Okay, see ya. Bye.